Hello, good afternoon. Pete and Ellen here, right? What the main thing that we're doing out here today is doing a quick review of the Alpkit Ordos 2-person 3-season tent. It's a tent that we've had for about a year. We've taken it on about 3 to 5 trips. So let's crack into the review. Awesome. So we have the Ordos 2 by Alpkit here, as you can see on the bag. Just wanted to cover off some of the specs according to the website. So according to Alpkit, this comes in at 1.75 kilos for the inner, outer, the 14 stakes that come with it, as well as the ground sheet and the poles. When we measured this at home this morning, it was actually 50 grams lighter, maybe because our scale is dying or wrong, but I thought that was really accurate as well. The minimum trail weight for this, with 6 pegs, the inner, outer and the poles, is 1.4 kilos. Or the material on this tent is fantastic. It is up with some of the other industry leading tents like the Big Agnes Copspur, HV UL2 and the MSR Hubba Hubba 2-person tent. So this is using a 15D ripstop nylon for the outer material on the fly sheet. That does come factory seam sealed, which is fantastic for a tent of this caliber and of this manufacturing style. You'll see in the industry, most lightweight tents, you need to seam steel at home. So it's great for Alpkit to release a tent for £229 on discount for $200 or $199 at the moment. That actually comes factory seam sealed. The mesh on the tent is a 20D no-seam, and it actually sits up quite high on the inner of the tent as well, which is great for 3-season use, or if you're down in the south of England, potentially pushing 4-season, just depending on how windy it is. One thing to note about the 20D ripstop floor, since it is quite thin, right, 20 denier, you need to make sure that you actually have the ground sheet as well for prolonged use, or where we're actually setting up today, where there's little bits of stick and bark and tree all over the ground. So if you want to get years and years of use out of this, make sure you use the footprint. Standard YKK zippers, really good quality zippers in the tent. It comes with DSC pegs, 14 of them. There is an option when you purchase the tent to upgrade the poles from the standard aluminium ones that we actually have. One top vent, it's quite large, so we'll show you that in a sec. There are 2 inner pockets, and the tent for a 2-person is quite small. So we brought a standard sleeping setup. But when we set it up, we can actually see some room inside. So let's cut to us setting up the tent. Awesome. So we've just set up the inner tent. As you would have seen from the time lapse, this is actually a inner pitch tent first. Now, some people really like them. I do personally, but there are quite a lot of people in the backpacker community and in the hiking community that prefer an outer pitch first tent, especially in the UK when it is super windy like this all the time. It's raining all of the time, and when you're up on mountaintops as well, it just makes it quite difficult. But I just wanted to show you the pegs. These are a mini Y-stake DAC peg that Alpkit supplies. As I mentioned before, in the peg bag, you actually get supplied with 14 of them. Apologies on how dirty these are. Like I said, this has been used before. You actually get some repair tape for the inner, the outer, the no-seam mesh as well, and you get a little splint as well for the poles. So if we just come over to the tent here, with these styles of tent, if you don't set them up according to where the wind direction is as well, you'll actually see a lot of pressure come down onto this style of the tent. So what we're going to do in a second is we're actually going to reposition the tent so it's actually facing the wind as it comes through. So either the front or the back of the tent will get the biggest brunt of the wind and not the sides. So it'll actually be a little bit more stable in higher winds. On the foot end and the head end of the tent, there are actually two different colored webbing loops. So you know when you're setting up in driving rains on a mountaintop, which side is the front and which side is the back, so you can match the inner tent with the ground sheet together. So I'm just in the foot end of the tent here, and the really good thing about this tent, there's so much no-seam mesh, and this foot end allows for a direct cross breeze directly through the tent. So it is really well ventilated, especially in hot and humid conditions. Another good thing that you can see about this tent is there's about 4 inches of bathtub flooring. This allows for heavy rains just to beat up and bounce off, so it's not backsplashing into the tent and getting all of your belongings wet. With the no-seam mesh being up so high as well, it's really good when it comes to condensation. So as you're sat in the head end of the tent here, Ellen and I would be breathing up through the no-seam mesh, and then the fly would drape over top to make sure that the condensation drops to the outer of the tent and not onto our personal belongings. So we just set up the fly. Funnily enough, as soon as we did that, the wind direction had switched. Previously, it was coming through these trees, making the side of the tent actually cave in on itself. Now the wind is actually coming from this way. So if you come with me, the wind is actually smashing up against this side of the tent here. And a really good thing about this tent is the amount of guy out points that you can actually put onto the tent to make sure it's sturdy. So you've got 2 additional guy outs on the top ridge line of this tent. So we've got two additional guys on the side, one here and another there, just to make sure that if there is driving winds like there is today, this tent isn't going anywhere, it is staying still.
Okay, so now we're gonna set up our sleeping systems inside the tent so you guys can get a good look of what it looks like when 2 full-grown adults are set up with their sleeping pads inside the Ordos 2 tent. Okay, so I like to bring a sit pad and kneel while we set up, because otherwise there's not a whole lot of space in here for 2 people. And when Pete and I go out, we usually take turns setting up inside the tent. One of us will blow up our pad and lay out our bag, whilst the other one has to sit out in the wind.
And I am actually not sitting out in the wind today. I am cramped up in the foot end of this tent.
Okay, so I've set up my sleeping pad and mat, and now we're gonna pop out, and Pete is gonna set up his gear in the remaining space that I'm in. So we have both sleeping pads inflated and in the tent, and it does look like 2 of these double wide pads would fit. There's plenty of space between them, as well as on the side.
So now that I'm in the tent, there's not much room, right? Ellen, I don't know how we did this last year. Maybe we were just super tired, a little bit intoxicated. But I can definitely tell now that I'm in here with my wide pad, with Ellen's standard width 20-inch pad. Yes, there is room for the 2 of them to fit. However, it is going to be very snug. So, Ellen, come and join me. Let's get you in here so we can wrap this review up, talk about some of the inside specs of this tent, and we can give our final pros and cons. So you see what I mean about there not being enough room. I've just risen my body up just a little bit for Ellen to be able to get in comfortably. My head is right up against this no-seam mesh.
And how tall are you?
I am 173 centimeters.
Which is like 5 foot 8 inches.
So I'm a short ass. But anyway, let me pivot you around so you can see the foot end of the tent and how much room there is. So here we are, both snug in the tent.
The shoulder room isn't bad.
It's not bad when you're sat like this. No, not at all. If you're sat up, waiting out a storm for a few hours, yeah, it's going to get very cramped very quickly.
Especially if you don't like each other. If you've had a grumpy day on the trail, this is probably not going to be the tent for you.
That has never happened to us. Ever. Ever. Just wanted to start out with the dimensions so you can have a better idea of how tall you are, how wide you may be, if you decide this to be a one-person tent or a two-person tent. So the width at the head end of the tent, so where we're currently sat, is 136 centimeters from corner to corner. The width of the foot end, this does taper quite significantly. It actually drops down by 21 centimeters down to 105 centimeters. The height from bottom to top at the head end is 102 centimeters, and at the foot end it is 54 centimeters. So it is quite a compact, small tent. There is enough room in here for two people. However, if I was to summarize this in one word, one person. Hyphenated.
I think it's doable, but it's not comfortable.
Yeah, I think if you and I were in here just for a quick little overnighter,
which is what we've primarily used this tent for,
right?
Pitch up at sunset, pack down at sunrise, and boogie on the way down the trail. It's not horrible. It's kind of uncomfortable getting in and out if you've got knee or ankle or back issues where you have a hard time crouching and getting into a tent. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah. And if you're in here for an extended season, like doing the Pennine Way or Cotswold Way or even the Thames Valley Path, right?
Through hiking, yeah.
Through hiking in general, right? This is not the tent for you.
Unless you and your partner.
Yes, unless you were taking this as a one-person tent, which I would personally. I think this is a nice roomy tent for me and my gear.
Yeah, maybe you can do a secondary review.
You could be my pack.
Yeah.
And my shoes right there, as opposed to being splayed all over the ground outside. But some of the other cons we've noticed over the past year of using this tent, the sloped walls means that there's not a lot of headroom. And if there is driving winds like you have seen today, it does make this tent feel even smaller, and it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of rigidity behind the tent.
And that you can get it so the fly sheet is touching that inner wall, and then you're gonna wet out. And if you have a down bag, that's gonna be a total no-go for you in that situation.
Not good. Very small, and I mean very small vestibule. We're currently filming in here at the moment. There's no room for our gear, right? Yeah, we've had times where we've had both of our packs. It's been raining. We're trying to cook. We can't cook. Halfway through the night, we got to get up, go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
mainly me. Then you got to throw your gear out into the rain, and it's difficult, right? Like I said, in a pitch first, some people may like that. Some people may not like that. And like we've reiterated throughout this entire section here, it is very tight for two people. Moving on to some of the pros. This list is a lot longer than what the cons are, which is really good. It's lightweight. It's 1.7 kilos, 1.4 kilos for minimum trail weight.
And that weight is really easy to split across 2 people. So I usually carry the poles and the ground sheet, and the stakes usually. And then Pete will carry the inner and the fly sheet.
Freestanding, right, it is a semi-geodesic design, which is usually there for high wind resistance. I think today has been a pretty good test for that. You know, the color, nice and stealthy, it's green, there's no massive logos. There is one just on the door.
It's low profile, so you're not going to stick out like a sore thumb.
The poles, right? But these are nice, lightweight aluminium poles. We've had them in some pretty high wind before. Haven't snapped. They've bowed in just a little bit. Most tents of this caliber and this class will do that.
They're designed to do so they're not going to snap, right?
Yep. And the best pro of them all is actually the price. Right now on Alpkits, you can pick this up for £199. We bought this for full price at $229.
Build
Satisfied.
quality it seems really nice in my opinion. There's not a lot of like loose threads or anything anywhere. Just where we've kind of got Velcro stuck on it, basically, through our use. Me?
Yep.
No.
So,
Well, one other thing too about the freestanding is you can then pitch your wet tent in your living room to let it dry if you don't have a back garden.
who is this tent for? I think if you're brand new into backpacking, right, you just want to test the waters, see if this is something that you like, and you don't want to shell out a lot of money for a very expensive Big Agnes or Cedar Summit, or even like a Hilleberg tent. I mean, a Hilleberg tent is thousands of pounds, you know, usually. If you're two small people,
Yeah.
right, we're average build,
Yep. I'm 5'4", Pete's 5'9",
yeah, 69, 70 kilos, and you're about
52 or something.
So we're not the tallest people in the world, but you know, there's definitely room for the two of us in here, albeit a little bit tight. But what I think this is especially designed for is one person and gear, so you can make the most out of the room, both to the side and both in the vestibule. But anyway, guys, look, thank you so much for watching. This is our first product review. We hope to get more of them out there as well. Right, Ellen and I, we're average people doing average things.
On the weekend.
Yeah, we're not through hiking the AT, right? We live in the UK, and we're here to just give other people like you and I a genuine review of products, you know, hikes we go on. So thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, and get out there, stay wild.
Pew, pew.